I just achieved my first woman grandmaster norm. I'm so happy, guys. You guys have absolutely no idea. I mean, we started this journey road to WGM. I've been playing chess for so long, and suddenly it happened. It happened out of nowhere. I just completed 3 OTB tournaments, almost in a row. And right after my last tournament, I just finished Sunway Formentera. It was 10 rounds. And after round 10, the same day, I flew back home to catch the last round of the Dutch League. And in the league, I was doing pretty well. I had 2 wins thus far and 6 draws, so that was really insane. I didn't lose so far, but I was struggling to win my games. And one of the games that I won was quite undeserved. But anyway, so for this last round, based on all the calculations, it was calculated that if I win my game against someone rated 2200 at least, I would achieve the Woman Grandmaster norm over 9 rounds. And of course, you know, something to look forward to. I was not entirely sure if I wanted to play this game, but since I had the chance to go for a Woman Grandmaster norm, I want to try, right? I want to try my best to make it happen. So I did everything I could to be on time. I was home 3 a.m. after a long travel home. And the next day, I had to be ready for the game. I was sleep deprived, exhausted, you name it. And I showed up to my game and we went with the team to Purmerend. And before the day itself, my team negotiated with the other team to try to match me with an opponent that is the rating that I need. So we were looking for someone at least 2200 rated, and the opponents actually also needed someone to try to achieve the IM norm. So there was some negotiation happening, and basically they told us you can sit on either from board 2 to 5, there will be a player that is suited for my needs. So yeah, then my captain put me on board 5, and there I was. In this game, I played against FIDE Master Tobias Cabos, rated 2300. So before I was looking at the players, right? And I was like, okay, a lot of them are pretty high rated. You're looking for someone that's like just above, you know, what you need. But they were all high 2200s or 2300s. And I was getting really stressed out because how can I beat a 2300 player on demand after being so tired, sleep deprived? I've been playing chess for the past month so much. And it all comes down to this one game. So let's see what happens in this game. So in this game, I just started with e4. I had no prep whatsoever. The only prep I had was playing all of these tournaments in the past month. My opponent went for d6, and I was pretty excited for this because I faced this also in the last tournament in Sunway Formentera. This is the Peers, and after d4, knight f6, knight c3, g6, I was trying to recall what I actually played. I was so frightened and exhausted. I could not remember what was actually my preparation and what I played in this one game. Admittedly, I did play against someone lower rated, and usually when you play someone lower rated, you have like a different approach to the game. You have a different sort of repertoire or something. You usually try to be more aggressive, and I was not sure if I wanted to be aggressive against someone higher rated than me, but I thought, well, since I'm in a must-win situation, might as well. So bishop e3 is what I played, bishop g7, and here I went for f3 to avoid any sort of knight g4, really. And after short castle, I went queen d2, and here my opponent went for e5, which I was a bit surprised by, because I remembered that c6 was one of the main moves, or maybe even c5, but I remember that in the game that I played in Sunway Formentera, my opponent went for c6 with some queen a5, and then b5, and all of that stuff, right? So I was expecting this, but after e5, I was like, something feels wrong. This doesn't feel right, you know, shutting your bishop down without having the knight on b8 developed, let's say to d7 or maybe c6. Something felt off, but I wasn't entirely sure what. I went for long castle. I'm simply trying to get ready for the attack on the king side, right? E takes d4, bishop takes d4, knight c6, bishop e3. Afterwards analysis, my opponent said that, it must feel, there must be something good here for black because I wasted time. He developed his piece by tempo, and this bishop was, of course, also pretty open. So something must be good here for black. But I had a hard time figuring out what is exactly going on here for black. My opponent went for a6, which is probably a very slow move because I am coming in here with bishop g5. The idea is simple. I want to pin this knight over here, and all sorts of threats arise. Knight d5, maybe queen f4 can be played at some point. I'm quite confident in my position, but okay, this is just early stages, right? Nothing is happening just yet. My opponent went for b5, I went for h4, and here my opponent went for knight e5. So of course I'm trying to push my pawns on the king side, so I'm trying to play h5, etc. But after some thought, I realized I have f4, and things are getting super exciting because basically if the knight goes anywhere but c6, let's say knight eg4, I want to play e5 because the knight is pinned on f6. This pawn is pinned as well because after takes, I can take the queen and my rook is protecting on the d file. So that is completely winning. So yeah, my opponent cannot stop any of these threats and yeah, basically loses the knight over here. So you can play h6, but then I can take on f6, h takes g5, f takes g7, etc. And yeah, you can take back with the knight, but then I can just take, and this must be winning. I'm just a piece up, and this should be fine. So that's why after f4, my opponent spent a lot of time here. My opponent did not expect this move. And I started to sense that, since my opponent is so surprised and not so sure about the position anymore, I started to gain confidence. Because at first I was terrified. I'm playing someone higher rated. I need to win. All these thoughts are crossing my head. And I was basically arguing with myself. Because I'm I need to win. I'm telling myself I need to win. Focus, do everything you can. But then I'm no pressure, no pressure. Don't put pressure on yourself. And then, no, but you need to win. You need to win. No. Don't put pressure on yourself. And I'm trying to calm myself down. But in my head, I'm just going completely crazy. I was freaking out. So, knight c6 was played in the end. And yeah, I expected this move. My opponent spent 25 minutes on this move or something. So during my opponent's time, I was calculating, what do I do after knight c6? Well, funnily enough, I spent 30 minutes on this move because I could not comprehend that I cannot play the move e5 because the knight is now defending the queen. So there's some interesting variations here. After e5, d takes e5, the idea is that you want to take on d8, right? So after rook takes d8, rook takes d8, knight takes d8, pawn takes e5, you're attacking the knight on f6, and actually what's even funnier is that this line's not even winning or something for white. If knight h5, bishop takes d8, knight g3, white is worse because you're losing that bishop on f1 or the rook even. So I was yeah, that doesn't work. But I thought rook takes d8 was not the move. I thought knight takes d8 was much better. And yeah, I was thinking of rook takes d8, rook takes d8, f takes e5. And that way, I'm trying to win the piece back and have two pieces for the rook. But after knight h5, same issue. Black is okay losing the rook and then knight g3. And yeah, but it's just very messy. But the bottom line of this is that e5 does not work at all. And I have such a hard time accepting this because that's the whole plan. What do I do if I can't play e5? So I was calculating different moves. Do I play knight d5, h5? Do I maybe do some prophylaxis and remove the queen so I can prepare e5? But I was not really feeling it. All of those moves seemed bad because basically my opponent is threatening two things. One, h6, because the bishop is basically trapped, can still capture the knight, but you don't want to trade that quickly because queen takes f6 and it looks very unpleasant. And b4. b4 is the second threat. And if b4, the knight is under attack, knight has to move, and then maybe the pawn on e4 drops. So a lot of things to keep in mind. And I was not regretting my move f4, but I was more unable to accept that there's nothing in a position. I was looking for something and I couldn't find it. And mind you, we're on move 13. And a few moves before this, my opponent was writing down the time, the clocks of us for almost every single move. And I was like, okay, maybe I should also like just start writing, because I was spending so much time in the opening. I thought I need to like record this on my score sheet. So I was writing it down, and on this move, as I said, I spent 30 minutes. And after this move, after h5, I had 17 minutes. 17! I've never had such little time for 27 moves. Because after 27 moves on move 40, I will receive 30 minutes extra, right, on my clock. But now I'm on 17 minutes after 13 moves. So much time was spent. And I was already like, yeah, Anna, this is not happening. You can't play chess like this. You can't play classical chess like this. This is exactly how you lose your games. But what helped is that my opponent was also running down the clock pretty quickly. My opponent went for bishop g4. Initially, I was really concerned about move b4 because I didn't like that if I move the knight to d5, there's knight takes e4, bishop takes d8, knight takes d2, bishop takes c7, knight takes f1, etc. And here, I'm probably going to win the pawn on d6. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll be up a pawn, but practically speaking, this is disaster for anyone that wants to that needs to win their game. This is a disaster. You can't play this because the chances of my opponent drawing this, equalizing this, are so high because of the pair of bishops in such an open position. And I don't really have so much going for me here. So that's why I was like, I can't afford it. I can't afford those trades. So I had to be really careful. And I wanted to play move e5 here actually and go for, some counterplay activity, complicate things. Apparently it's not great at all. But yeah, I was really, confident that maybe queen e1, I get out of the pin, or I get out of the d file. So this pawn is pinned, the knight is attacked, and maybe some attack will happen. But it was not precise at all. Turns out that here, instead of e5, I can simply take on g6. Knight e5 works too, but you have to play precise. And yeah, as I said, I don't want to trade pieces, so I'm refusing to play knight d5. Anyway, after bishop g4, I was really excited because I thought, oh, I can develop my light squared bishop finally. My whole king side was just not developed at all. But okay, bishop takes e2, queen takes e2. I am out of the d file, so now e5 is becoming a legitimate threat, which is why my opponent went for queen c8. Bishop takes f6. I am capturing the knight off the board now because there's no queen takes f6 anymore. And after bishop takes f6, I knight d5. And it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Usually you don't really want to trade off your dark squared bishop like this because this bishop is usually a monster. It's such a good defender and also a really good attacker. But in this very specific case, I can sense that I'm attacking over here on the king side. There's not a lot of defenders around here of my opponent, and I'm sensing that maybe I can push f5, f6 and shut this bishop down altogether. So I was really feeling confident here. And that also added even more pressure to the situation because I thought, if I don't win this, I'll be very upset at myself. But okay, bishop g7 was played. And here I went for takes on g6, takes on g6. My opponent doesn't want to take with the h-pawn because that's quite disastrous. I would have played f5, f6, and then the queen somehow gets to the h-file and then checkmates at some point. The knight can join as well if needed. And just impossible to defend because Black has no defenders, only this bishop. This poor bishop on g7 is doing it all alone. So that's why f takes g6, so that in any case, the queen can maybe support the h-pawn from here. I went for g4. I'm going for the attack. I wasn't entirely sure why I played g4. I could have simply developed the knight, but I just wanted to stop any sort of h5 altogether. And maybe I wanted to play g5 at some point, maybe. Queen e7 was played. I went for knight f3 after all, because I'm not afraid of losing that pawn on g4. I don't care. If my opponent takes that pawn, wastes another move, I want to, involve the rook over here. Maybe I'll take on h7 at some point. Knight g5 is incoming. And there's so many possibilities for me over here. So I was really super excited. And the past couple of moves, I was blitzing out because remember, at 17 minutes, and I believe around here, I was down to 15 minutes. So I was blitzing out the moves here. kind of playing on intuition now. Rook e8, and here I thought, okay, I want to play e5. I want to like shut the bishop down altogether. Try to prepare some sort of rook takes h7 at some point. Knight f6 could be interesting at some point. First, I have to remove the queen, of course, but there's like so many ideas coming up here. Knight e7 was played, queen h2, h5, and here I was like, it's getting really tricky. I really wanted my opponent to play h6, so after knight f6, bishop takes, I was thinking of taking on h6, and somewhere is checkmate. Let's say bishop g7, this is already checkmate. Such a pretty checkmate. But yeah, black needs to be super careful. And I thought h6 was like already like over, but my opponent went for h5, and I thought, okay, that's actually quite tricky. I thought, my opponent's maybe putting some barriers around here, blocking me from attacking, because the square f5 becomes available for all the pieces. It becomes really scary. So knight takes d5 was played, rook takes d5, queen f7, rook d4. I was pretty nervous around here. I remember having like 30 seconds here, and I was like freaking out because I know I'm completely winning, but where does my rook go? And I just needed to make sure to not trade queens. Once the queens are off the board, this is really difficult to win. So I needed to make sure to defend my pawn on f4. D takes e5, h takes g6, queen takes g6, knight takes e5. Of course, my opponent cannot do anything else. Like, let's say they move the queen, there's checkmate on h7. Also, the rook is not hanging right, so that's why they have to take back. Knight takes e5, queen f5. And here I was like so freaked out because where is the win? I know this is winning. I know like the king is so unsafe, but where is the final blow? And then after thinking that maybe rook d7 could be interesting, I didn't like it because, queen takes f4 or rook takes e5 and so much trouble. And then I saw the light. I saw rook g1, and I was so happy because after rook g1, I'm attacking the bishop on g7. Now I'm threatening rook d7, queen h6, and all sorts of moves to attack that bishop. And after rook d8, my opponent went for this, and I played rook takes d8, rook takes d8, and suddenly queen h6, and my opponent resigned after spending almost all of his time. And I could not believe it. I could not believe it. This was the moment. This was the moment that I realized I actually am getting the WGM norm. My opponent resigned, congratulated me, and I was over the moon. I was tearing up in my eyes. My heart was racing like, I don't know, 500 beats per minute. It was like, I was like almost like falling over. I was trying to calm myself down because imagine if I just like get unconscious before the game is over, then I actually lose the game. So I tried to like calm myself down, but oh my god, I was so happy. I could not believe it. This game was also just so smooth. It went so smoothly. It was a little stressful in time trouble because I was really scared that I was really throwing it away, but oh my god, we did it, and I'm so happy. This is one norm now. For the WGM title, I need a total of 3 norms. So this is one norm, and that means I need to achieve 2 more norms in other tournaments. So let's say I'm going to a tournament next. I need to have a performance of 2400 at least to achieve the WGM norm. And there's all sorts of additional rules to it. But usually the performance is what matters the most and what is the thing that we look at the most. So yeah, this tournament, the league season, I finished with a performance rating of 2420, which is insane. Maybe I was half a point away from international master norm even, because I played a lot of international masters. I think 3 of them and a few FIDE masters as well. But overall, super happy with my performance. It was a really crazy season, but what a way to finish the season. I was shocked. I did not expect this at all. And yeah, I really feel like that the past 3 tournaments that I played almost back to back really helped me a lot in terms of seeing things, feeling things, and just altogether the understanding in chess has improved with me so much. I was able to draw logical patterns because of this. Like, I played this opening already in Sonny Formentera. I can, based on this game, I can think like, okay, but this looks different, this doesn't look right, and all of that stuff. So Even though the 3 tournaments were quite exhausting and I did not gain elo overall, it feels like it's actually like helping me a lot. And I'm super happy about all of this. I mean, this is just amazing. So yeah, I'm so happy, guys. And we continue the grind. The grind does not stop here because very soon I am going to another tournament. I'm playing many more OTB very soon. I'm playing in a Ladder League, and I'm also going to the tournament in Sharjah Masters. Well, I'm playing the Challengers, but I am planning to play many more tournaments this year, so many more chances to achieve more norms. Very difficult, I have to say, because the Dutch League is 1 round basically per month or so, and having such a consistent performance throughout 1 tournament is quite a challenge, but I'm ready for it. I want to take all the chances I can get, and I want to continue studying, and we'll see how things go. So yeah, now it's time to celebrate, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all the support. I cannot believe that this is actually this actually happened. This is actually crazy. I can't stress this enough. But thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all the support, and I hope to see you in the next video.